You're listening to the Third Coast Gridiron H-Town's podcast on the LSG Network with your host, Marc Henry.
We are 1 week away from the state title game at Jerry World in Arlington. The semifinals must take place. This is Marc Henry here on the Third Coast Gridiron on the LSG Network, the authority for high school football in the state of Texas. We're going to talk H-Town high school football, week 5 of the playoffs. 6 games to state in total. We've played 4. We're in the 5th round. Who's left standing? Who's going to head to Jerry World? We'll talk about that and more right here on the TCG, the Third Coast Gridiron, brought to you by the Lone Star Gridiron Network. We'll pause, take a small break, and we'll come back and get right into it as we talk about the state semifinals right here on the TCG, the Third Coast Gridiron.
Are you ready to take your game to the next level? Whether you're an athlete, coach, or just someone striving for more success in life, the Winner's Workshop is your secret weapon. Yes, this award-winning course has transformed thousands of lives, teaching the game-changing principles of sports psychology that Fortune 500 companies, coaches, and top performers all use to win. The Winner's Workshop, subtitled How Sports Psychology Can Make You a Champion, is now available on CoachTube for a fraction of the original $499 price. The Winner's Workshop will help you master focus, mindset, and breakthroughs to make you a champion. Click on the link in the show notes or head over to LoneStarGridiron.com and click on the ad today to unlock your full potential.
Let's dive right into it. Big games, semifinals, H-Town's in it. This is a trip to Jerry World on the line. Let's talk about North Shore and Austin Westlake, 2 perennial powers. We know that Westlake's a team that's been there and done that, been state champions. Their only loss on the season was to Atascocita, who went down to Westlake and took out the Chaparrals. Now, North Shore's rolling back where they normally are, undefeated on the season. Took down Atascocita last week for the second time this season. They look to be on a roll. I really see this game going North Shore's way. I think that Caleb Bailey's playing at a phenomenal level. Congratulations to KB on the TD Award, the Houston Touchdown Award, Offensive Player of the Year. This is a guy that can get it done. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the state for a reason, highly recruited. He won state as a freshman. He's on a mission, and I've talked to KB a couple of times at the games that we went to, and you can tell that he has a fever to get back to that. He's really focused on the getting back. They had a tough loss against Duncanville last year. 2 years ago, the Chaparrals, were a great opponent for those guys. They beat them 23-14 last season as well. They rushed for over 200 yards and forced 3 turnovers defensively. Now, we know what they have on defense. Devin Sanchez is the best cornerback in the country, signed to Ohio State. We talked about the big win over Atascocita last week, 49-21. That puts them where they are now. But last week, they had the ground game rolling, rushed for over 437 yards, and finished with just under 640 yards, 639 total. They know how to get this done. Now, Westlake, on the other hand, has won 11 straight since that loss to Atascocita. They held off their rival, Lake Travis, in a 24-17 win to make it to this game. They've been great on defense as well, only allowing about 12 points a game. They've held 13 of the 14 opponents to 17 points or less. Elliott Shaper on the defensive side is a unit, man. He can get it done. He's a linebacker that plays from side out of the sideline. And he's a guy that you definitely have to look at that's going to be tasked with stopping this potent offense. So I think that Westlake has a chance, but I see North Shore just really, really establishing themselves. And they'll play the winner of the Duncanville-North Crowley game, which takes place on Saturday as well. And that'll be the title game will be next Saturday, the 21st, at 7 p.m. at AT&T Stadium. So, the Mustangs, they have reservations to get there. That's their goal every year. I think Coach Gaston has really kept these guys focused through everything, and this is a game that you want to see if you can pull up. Summer Creek, the Bulldogs are back in this fifth round for a second year in a row. They made a run last year at a state title appearance, lost to a very good DeSoto team, but hey, they're back in it, man. 12-2 on the season, take on a tough Austin Vandergrift team, as this is going to be a matchup in Waco at McLean Stadium in Baylor, 7 p.m. 6A Division II semifinal. Listen, I like what they're doing. Blake Thomas has over 50 touchdowns on the season. They really came back and played very well last week in thumping Kingwood 51-7, piling up 478 yards total offense. The defense was opportunistic with 11 tackles for loss. And they played a very good running back in Marquez Davis, who's a 2,000-yard rusher for Kingwood this year, one of the better players in the area. But they held him to 189 total yards. That's saying something. Again, we talked about Blake Thomas, who had 4 TD passes and now has 50 for the season total, with 37 passing and 13 rushing. He's committed to Lamar. This is a guy that can get it done through the air, on the ground, and he's leading that offense. And he's playing better and more efficient this year. I think that's the big thing offensively, is they got that offense rolling. But listen, let's talk about Vandergrift a little bit. They're a team that was in the state title game a couple years ago. This Viper team is very good. They've been 82-11 in the last several years since 2018. Again, we know that they made a state title run a few years ago. So this is a very good team. Have a solid quarterback in Miles Tedecki, who's playing at a very good level this year. 44 touchdown passes on the year, only 7 interceptions. They're averaging over 40 points a game. Took care of San Antonio Harlan last week, 47-14. So Vandergrift they've won 12 straight games since losing to Cedar Park early on in the year, and this is a very good team. Should be a test for these guys from Summer Creek, but I like Summer Creek in this game just because they've been there, done that. They have the experience. They have the senior quarterback, a guy that can get it done, and I like Summer Creek in this game. The winner of that game faces off against the winner of the South Lake Carroll Longview game, which will be in Jerry World next Saturday at 3 p.m. Big game for Angleton. How about Angleton, 13-1 on the year, taking on a tough Smithson Valley team out of the San Antonio area, who was in the championship last year when they faced Toledo. This is a 2:30 game also at Baylor at McLean Stadium on Saturday, 5A Division I. The winner goes on to state. Angleton is making its deepest playoff run in 7 years. Shout out to the Wildcats. They got it done, beat LaPorte. These guys know what they're doing. They played LaPorte early in the season. They lost 24-21 in their district game. But the Wildcats are doing it on the offensive side as well, averaging over 382 yards a game. They get it done on the ground. Their defense is playing well as well, only allowing just about 216 yards per game. But the reason that they beat LaPorte was they trusted the round game and pounded them over 377 yards on the ground, and they stepped up. I like what they're doing. Angleton has a couple of guys on defense that should be standouts and guys to watch. Caden Edwards and Raiden Garcia. Each one of these guys are over 100 tackles on the season. But I like Maurice Hightower as well. He's one of those guys, a ball hawk in the secondary. He's got 6 interceptions on the season. Now, Smithson Valley's one of those teams that's hot right now. 9 consecutive wins. This team has been there and done that. I like what the Rangers are doing. They're going to pound you. Now, they got something to prove here because they're trying to get back to the state championship. Last year, they got pounded by Aledo. So, we were at that game. They started out with an 8-0 lead, and then Aledo rips off 51 straight. They got something to prove here. They had a dominant performance last week over Corpus Christi Flower Bluff, 49-14. But I think that Angleton's do. But you're going to have to play a clean game against Smithson Valley. It's going to be a tough contest, but I think it's one that Angleton can win if they play clean football and take care of their business and score in the red zone. The winner of this game gets Denton Ryan and Highland Park, one of those guys at 11 a.m. next Saturday in AT&T Stadium. We're going to take a small break. We'll come back. We got a couple more games to talk about as we talk about the regional semifinals. This is the chance to go to Jerry World, round 5 of the playoffs, right here on the TCG, the Third Coast Gridiron.
Hey, coaches, you may have already missed the boat on getting your own coaches show this season on Lone Star Gridiron, but did you know we're doing basketball shows this year? That's right. If you're a basketball coach and you want your own coaches show, we have a great business model that allows you or your booster club to make money from the show and at the same time promote your program, your kids, and all the amazing things happening with your basketball team. To find out how you can get your very own basketball coaches show, reach out to Chris at 713-269-4620.
All right, let's talk about it. One of the better teams in the area this year has been Columbus down in the 3A Division I ranks. They've got one of the top offenses and one of the best quarterbacks in the state. Definitely a team that took care of business last week in a big victory over Franklin, who's a perennial power in the 3A ranks, 62-42. They knocked these guys out of the playoffs, and they've been around for a couple of years. We're talking about a Columbus team that's been scoring at will, averaging over 52 points a game. Head coach Matt Schobel took over as head coach in 2019, and they have a 70-13 record on the season. Now, this is one of those teams that's hot right now. I really like what Columbus is doing. Schobel, the quarterback's a TCU commit. You got one of the best all-around players in the state, no matter what classification. Grayson Rignan, who's a North Carolina State commit and signee. He can get it done through the passing game, through the running game. Put it in Rignan's hands. He's going to get it done. Now, the thing about Rignan is he came from the six-man ranks. He was a state champion 3 years in a row. Dad gets a job at Columbus. He transfers. He's just like that missing piece of the puzzle. They're one game away from state. Can they get it done? And I think so. I really like this team and been watching them most of the year as a team that can make a run to Jerry World. And they have a chance. They have a chance to get there. Now, Edna's one of those teams that's making their third consecutive trip to the semifinals, 7th overall. They've been dominant. They had a big victory, 41-14 over Llano last week. And they've just been putting it on their opponents, outscoring them 194-42. That's saying something. That means they play great defense. Braylon Harris is their big-time guy that they go to in crunch time. He had 2 receiving touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, and a pick last week against Llano. But I like Columbus in this game. I think that they have a chance to set up a big-time matchup next week, which will be Thursday, 7 p.m. at A&T Stadium. They have the winner of Paradise and Malakoff. Malakoff's one of those teams. They won state last year. So this is a big-time matchup. I like Columbus in this game. I think that they're due. Listen, if they get Mr. Rigdon back up in AT&T Stadium, he's found a home there the last 3 years. He's a guy that can get it done. I mean, you got to watch this guy's film if you hadn't seen it. He can run between the tackles with power, quick, elusive, and then he's got the speed to go the distance. Really like his game. I really like Columbus in this game. This is a Thursday contest. This has been recorded, so it'll be tonight at Rice Stadium, man. This might be a game we need to pull up on. All right, big game of the week here, one that I've been watching. Shout out to the Randall Lions. Shout out to my guy, Coach Randall over there. We've gotten to know him as a friend of the show last couple of years. I really like this team. Undefeated this year. They're taking on a tough Borning team. Well, let's talk about it. This game is on Friday at Baylor. It's McLean Stadium, 5A Division II matchup. Randall saw Iowa Colony, one of their district rivals, last week, and they came out on top 21-14 in overtime. Randall's playing its third year varsity, and they're 25-2. 25-2. Just think about that as a third year program. They got one of the best backs in the country in Landon Williams Callis. If you have not seen this young man ball, you got to pull up. This guy is only a sophomore. He's got double-digit offers from colleges around the country. He's rushed for over 2,000 yards for the season. When he gets the football in his hands, it's lights out. But listen, he wasn't the story last week. Keelan Sweeney is one of those guys that can do it from all directions. When I say all directions, any position you put him at, quarterback, receiver, running back, he can play some DB. College coaches got to get after this guy. He is playing phenomenal right now. I think he's one of the best playmakers in the state right now. He's was a big reason that Randall took care of business, scored 3 touchdowns, 2 rushing, and he caught a pass. Sweeney is must-see TV. Combining him with Williams Callis, they get it done. Coach Randall's done an awesome job with these guys and making them multiple on offense. He gets the hands in his play. He gets the ball in his playmakers' hands. That's what you got to have. And I think that this is a big reason these guys are where they are. But let's switch sides of the ball. Randall's defense is led by Texas A&M signee Chase Sims, 6'3", 305. We're talking about a guy that's a disruptive force on the inside of the defensive line. He gets it done. Quick hands, quick get off. Very, very violent hands when it comes to getting off blocks. He caused the fumble that led to the win over Iowa Colony last week. Defensively, they know they got their hands full with Barney. Let's talk about the Greyhounds a little bit. Averaging over 44 points a game, over 481 yards a game. Barney quarterback Hank Hendricks is phenomenal. He's completing over 72% of his passes. This is a guy that can throw it. He's very, very good in the pocket. They also got a TCU committed Logan Schramm, Arkansas committed linebacker Hudson Hendricks, and then, we mentioned Hank Hendricks, who is definitely a guy that can play at the next level. They got a big-time receiver in Brooks Perez as well. So, Barney's no slouch. They're here for a reason. And these guys know that they have to take care of business against an explosive team in Randall. Of course, everybody's going to have their eyes on Landon Williams Callis, but hey, do not forget about Keelan Sweeney. I'm telling you, this guy is must-see TV. He's a guy that can get it done whenever he has the ball in his hands. Put it in his hands and something positive is going to happen. I really like what Sweeney's done. I like what he's done this year. But last week, he really put the reliance on his back because everybody's going to be looking at Williams Callis to get the football. But Sweeney's a guy that's going to be on scouting reports for sure. Now, on the other side of this bracket, they got a big matchup up in the Dallas area, South Oak Cliff and Argyle. That's who they will get the winner out of this game. And this will be a Friday game, 7 p.m. on next Friday at A&T Stadium. That'll be the matchup for the 5A Division II championship. So, man, what a great season it's been so far, man. The TCG's been on the ride for the entire season, man. Definitely some games and guys that you need to take a look at as, hey, this is dwindling down, man. This is our favorite time of the year. This is state championship pre-week or the semifinal week or the game or the week before the state playoffs or for the state championships up at AT&T Stadium. So follow along, man. We'll be back at you next week to tell you who made it to Jerry World and preview the state championships at AT&T Stadium. I am your host, Marc Henry, on the Third Coast Gridiron. You can follow us on Twitter at Third Gridiron. Follow me on Twitter at MarkHen44 or TXTP Show. We will holler at you H-Town next week. We out.
Are you ready to take your game to the next level? Whether you're an athlete, coach, or just someone striving for more success in life, the Winner's Workshop is your secret weapon. Yes, this award-winning course has transformed thousands of lives, teaching the game-changing principles of sports psychology that Fortune 500 companies, coaches, and top performers all use to win. The Winner's Workshop, subtitled How Sports Psychology Can Make You a Champion, is now available on CoachTube for a fraction of the original $499 price. The Winner's Workshop will help you master focus, mindset, and breakthroughs to make you a champion. Click on the link in the show notes or head over to LoneStarGridiron.com and click on the ad today to unlock your full potential.